They say your whole life can change in the time it takes to blink. Mine? It changed in the time it took to wait for a latte. I'm not the type of guy who believes in fate, or wasn't at least, but that morning, something happened. My name's Eli, I'm 26, and this is the story I've never told anyone. I call it, I was just waiting for my coffee when she asked, "Want to wait with me forever?" It was a Thursday, late October, rainfall like soft percussion on the cafe windows. You know that kind of rain, not violent, just present, like it's trying to tell you something without saying a word. I stopped at the cafe down the street from my office, the one I always go to when I need to pretend life isn't falling apart. Work was a mess. Marketing deadlines. A boss who talked more with his eyebrows than his mouth. And my dad had just called the night before to say Mom wanted a trial separation. Yeah. I didn't even know you could trial love like it's a damn subscription service. So I walked in, hands jammed in my coat pockets, headphones in, Miles Davis humming something slow, and ordered the usual. Eli, the barista called my name, then added, "It'll be a few minutes," like always. So I moved to the corner, same corner I always wait in. And then, she spoke. "Want to wait with me forever?" At first, I didn't think she was talking to me. I turned, and there she was, sitting at the opposite corner table, black turtleneck, messy bun, sipping a chai like it held some ancient secret. Her eyes, that soft, unreadable gray-green, were locked on mine. I blinked. "Sorry, what?" She smiled like she'd just caught me sleepwalking. "You looked like someone who needed company," she said. So I offered. She motioned to the empty seat across from her. I should have said no. I wanted to say no, but something in her voice, something impossibly calm, undid me. I sat down. We didn't talk much at first, just shared the space. The silence between us was warm, like it had history, even though we didn't. Then she said, "You look tired." "Corporate," I replied, "and a messy family dinner last night." She nodded, sipping her tea. "Mine too." There was something about the way she said it. Not a throwaway comment. More like a lock clicking into a familiar doorframe. She asked what I did. I told her about the office, the deadlines, the campaigns no one would remember. She said she was an interior architect. "Making space that feels like breath," she said. "That's the goal." I laughed. I try to sell deodorant on Instagram. Not quite the same. But she didn't laugh. Just tilted her head, eyes still locked on mine. "It's not what you do," she said softly. "It's who you are while you're doing it." That one line hit me like a confession. We sat there for another 20 minutes. No names yet, no numbers, just the strange, glowing awareness that I wasn't alone. Then her order was ready. She stood, gathered her umbrella, and turned to me. "I'll see you again," she said like it was a promise. Same corner, same rain, and she was gone. That night I couldn't sleep, kept thinking about her voice, her words, that line. "Want to wait with me forever?" The next morning I went early, earlier than usual, ordered the same coffee, waited at the same table. She wasn't there. Not the next day either, or the next. I even asked the barista, but they hadn't seen her since that rainy morning. For a while I thought maybe she wasn't real. Maybe I imagined her. You know when you're so sleep-deprived and heart-numb that your brain plays tricks? But then, exactly 12 days later, she returned. Same cafe, same seat, different outfit, but the same eyes. Locked on me like she knew I'd been waiting. "I didn't think you'd still come," she said, sitting down like no time had passed. "I thought I dreamt you," I muttered. She smiled. That smile, the kind that opens doors you didn't know existed. Then finally, she said her name. Calla, Calla, like the lily, delicate, sharp-edged, quietly devastating. We started meeting every few days. Not every morning, just enough to stay on each other's minds. I learned her favorite scent was vetiver. She hated red wine but loved how it stained her lips. She lived in a brownstone apartment she shared with an older sister, who she spoke about like she was half angel, half war zone. Me? I told her about work, about how I used to want to be a filmmaker, about my mom and dad, now in separate houses, calling me like I'm the mediator in their Cold War. And every time I felt too exposed, she'd say something like, "You don't scare me, Eli. Your silence does more damage than your truth ever will." And somehow I believed her. But then something strange started happening. I started noticing inconsistencies. Kala said she worked freelance, but her phone always buzzed with names like Dr. Ramirez or Director Lee. She never invited me to her place. And one morning I followed her, not in a creepy way, just curious. She didn't go to any architecture office. She entered the back of a building marked Whitmore Behavioral Research Center, and she used a badge. The next day, she didn't show up at the cafe. Not the day after either. And when I asked around, no one remembered her. No one. Not even the barista she always chatted with. That's when it hit me. Who the hell was Kala? Was she even real? Couldn't sleep. Not because I missed her. I did. But because I didn't know if she ever really existed. You start to question everything when someone who made you feel seen suddenly disappears. Especially when the places they said they belonged to don't line up. I wasn't looking for drama. I wasn't looking for lies. I just wanted to know if Kala was real or a dream my loneliness invented. So I went back to the Whitmore Behavioral Research Center. Not inside, just across the street. Sat on a park bench, pretended to read, watched people go in and out, and then, after 2 hours of nothing, there she was, hair tied back, black coat, head down, moving fast. I stood up, called her name. Kala! She stopped, but didn't turn. Instead, she ducked into a side alley behind the building. I followed her, my heart pounding louder than my boots on wet concrete. Kala, wait! What the hell is going on? She turned. There were tears in her eyes, but no sadness, more like guilt. You shouldn't be here, she said softly. You weren't supposed to see this part of me. I walked closer. What is this part, Kala? I've been going crazy. I thought you were, I don't know, a ghost? A hallucination? She looked away, and then she whispered something that made everything crack. I wasn't lying to you, Eli. Just editing the truth. Turns out Kala wasn't an architect. She was a behavioral researcher, a psychologist running a covert study about emotional synchrony and the illusion of destined connection in isolated urban males. Yeah. I was part of a study, a subject, the cafe, planted, the conversations, monitored. Even her line, "Want to wait with me forever?" was scripted. I felt sick. You were experimenting on me, I said. She shook her head. It wasn't like that. Started that way. But then I met you, and suddenly the script felt wrong. I stared at her, trying to understand the hurricane unraveling inside me. You used me, I said, quieter now. You made me feel seen, wanted, real. But it was just data to you. She stepped forward. It wasn't just data. Eli, I wrote the report. I ended the trial early because of you. I laughed, bitter. Oh, great. I broke the lab rat protocol. She flinched, then said, I wasn't supposed to fall for you. There was a pause, thick, aching. And I know I ruined it, she whispered. But I haven't stopped thinking about you since that first cup of chai. I wanted to yell, wanted to hate her, but all I could feel was grief. Because deep down, I knew she wasn't lying. Not now. Her words were too messy, too raw, too much like mine. We didn't talk again for 2 weeks. I ghosted the cafe, avoided that part of town, threw myself into work, into noise, into anything but the hollow space she'd left. But one night around 2 a.m., I got an email. Subject line, not a script. It was from Kala. Inside was an audio file. No message. No context. I hit play. It was a voice recording. Her voice. Soft. Cracked. Like she'd been crying before hitting record. Eli, if you're listening, then maybe some part of you still wonders what was real. This voice. These words. They're not part of any research. There's no grant attached. No observer behind glass. Just me. I miss the way you'd look away when you got nervous. I miss how you'd pretend not to care, but your fingers would always twitch, like you were holding back from reaching for something. I miss waiting for coffee next to you, even if it meant being late to my own life. I'm sorry I used you, but I never meant to fall for you in the process. And I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know you were never an experiment to me. Kala. I listened to it 3 times. Then I cried. Not because of betrayal, not because of anger, but because somehow, against every rule, through every lie, I still missed her. The next day, I went back to the cafe. Same time, same seat, same stupid hope. And she was there. No coat this time, just a faded sweater, coffee in hand, staring out the window. She turned when I sat down, didn't say anything, just held out a cup. "Your usual," she said. I remembered. I looked at her for a long time and asked the only question that mattered. "What happens now?" She smiled, but it wasn't the same as before. The smile had wounds in it. "I don't know," she said, "but I'm not running this time. No more scripts." And just like that, we started again. From the truth this time. Love feels like a miracle until the real world asks you to prove it. Kala and I tried. We started over. Coffee dates turned into slow walks, slow touches. Honest conversations without observation mirrors or scripts. But when something begins with deception, no matter how deep the feelings, it doesn't dissolve cleanly. Not when your workplace finds out. Not when your family starts asking questions you can't answer. And not when your heart is still scared to believe the person in front of you isn't pretending again. It began unraveling the night her study was leaked. Someone, a colleague, maybe jealous, forwarded her trial notes to my company's HR. They called me in. "Did you knowingly participate in an unauthorized psychological trial involving emotional manipulation?" "No," I said. "Not knowingly." "Were you romantically involved with the lead researcher?" I hesitated. And just like that, they had their answer. I wasn't fired, but they put me on suspension. Conflict of interest. All the work I'd built over 2 years vanished in a single email thread. And when I told Kala, she went quiet, like she had no more words left, like guilt had wrapped itself around her lungs. "I never wanted this to touch your career," she said, barely above a whisper. I didn't yell. I didn't even raise my voice. But I said the thing I never thought I'd say. "I don't think I can separate who you are from what you did anymore." She nodded, eyes shining. "I understand," she said. "But I need you to know. I chose you. Long after the study ended, I chose you. Every time." Then she added, almost like a secret, "But if loving me feels like losing yourself, then let me go." And so I did. I walked out of that cafe, our cafe, and never sat in that corner again. Months passed. I got transferred to another department, moved across town, switched coffee spots. Sometimes, I still check my inbox at 2 a.m., hoping maybe she'll send another voice note. Just one last message. But there's nothing. Silence. Except for the memory of her voice asking, "Want to wait with me forever?" You know what the cruelest part is? She meant it. In that moment, she did. But some people enter your life not to stay, only to hold up a mirror you've been too scared to look into. And in that mirror, I saw a man who mistook being seen for being loved, who craved connection so deeply, he ignored every warning sign just to feel understood. I still think of her sometimes, when it rains softly on cafe windows, when I order my coffee and no one says my name with that strange, knowing calm, when I hear someone laugh with their whole chest, the way she used to. But here's what I've learned. Love isn't about forever. It's about the truth you find in the small moments, even the ones born from lies. And if I could go back, if I could choose again, I'd still sit at that table, still say yes, because for a little while, I wasn't just waiting for coffee, I was waiting to be known. And for one fragile season, I was